it's amazing what can happen to a person in 34 days. And so this is my journey on how I ended up getting fired to becoming a real estate agent. So there's a lot that led up to this, but the story starts out with this, is that I was at a job, worked at this job for many, many years. And I'll be honest, I really, really liked the job. I don't want to mention the job. It's a great place. I would say like most of the people are just fantastic. It's a fantastic place to work. I would recommend anybody working there. And circumstances that came about for me being terminated, it's unfortunate, and I have my thoughts on that. And maybe I'll cover that in a different topic. But I worked there for about 4 years, and there came a time to where I realized I needed to do a little bit more for the future of my family. So about 6 months prior to that, I enrolled in online real estate course. And so I started doing that. And so this whole craziness started in the month of June. Well, it actually began in the month of June, but leading up to my termination, I got the impression that, okay, I could see what's being written on the wall here. But it was about June 14th that I believe that I was terminated. Right now, as of this video, or towards the end of August. So it's still a really recent event. June 14th, I got laid off, or no, terminated. And that was kind of expected. I kind of was like, all right, I'm not surprised by this. But nonetheless, being fired is devastating for anybody. It's hard, especially in this economy. It's not a good thing. And so, well, I went into that mode where it's like, well, I need to figure out how to take care of my family. I'm a father of 3 kids, husband, and so there's a lot of weight on my shoulders to get this taken care of. And so as soon as I was terminated, I was about 4 out of 6 classes through my real estate course. And just for those who don't know, in order to get your real estate license, you need to go through 6 courses, 30 hours each. And so I had done most of them. I had about 60 hours left. So as soon as I was fired, I was determined to finish my real estate education. So I jammed out my last 2 courses. The last 60 hours, probably in about 2 weeks. I mean, I jammed out as fast as I could. Because usually it was prior to that, I started it in January, and I was taking my time. And so this pace is like, I didn't have any time. You know, I have to make something of myself to help my family. So I jammed those out. And during that process, my level of stress was just at its highest. I mean, I have to worry about my family. And so I started noticing when I would go for walks or I would mow the lawn that there was this pain on the left side of my chest and this sharp pain in my shoulder. And I had some previous heart problems before, but nothing like this, you know, high blood pressure and some other stuff that I would say is serious, but I can talk about it another time. But so during this whole process, my stress is high. I was always stressed out. I was always worried about tomorrow. And I was like, well, I was told that I had my insurance that was still good for the rest of the month. So from the 14th to the end of the month. So that's about 15, 16 days. And so I was like, I need to go and see all I can see medical wise. And so I went to see a cardiologist, and I had a stress test done, and I had an EKG done, and all these tests done where they looked at this and that. And so the doctor gave me a call one day. It was like about a week or so after I got terminated. And he tells me, hey, I got your results back, and generally a lot of it looks pretty good, but there's a couple things that really concern me. It looks really strange, almost like an anomaly. And so I was like, okay. And he's like, I think we're gonna have to do a cardiac catheterization. I think I'm butchering the terminology there, but I was like, well, I don't have insurance anymore towards the end of this month. And the reason why I say that is because it takes so long. I have to like set appointments out for months later to get any kind of, procedures done. And he goes, let me call you back. And he calls me back 20, 30 minutes later. And he's like, hey, listen, we got you a room, here at the hospital for tomorrow, at this particular time. You want to come in? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's an amazing thing. Like, who's going to get me in for a heart procedure the next day? So what had happened was I went in the next day, and they took me to this big room. It's really cold, and for those who had this procedure done, you kind of know, and maybe I'll do a video about like that whole thing. But long story short, they were looking around, digging around, and they're like, hey, look, you got a couple of arteries here that are blocked. One is about 30% or something, and another one is about 70% blocked, or maybe the percentages are a little bit off. Maybe it was like 100 and something, right? And he's like, we got to put stents in, like, but it's up to you. And I was like, yeah, let's put them in. So he puts them in, and there was a whole procedure that went through my wrist. I heard that the old ways of doing this was through your groin area. So I was really lucky to go through my wrist. And so I had these 3 stents put in, and that was stressful enough. I think of all the times I've ever went to the hospital and had a procedure done. The procedure is never really that bad. Well, at least depending on what you haven't done. But for me, it wasn't that bad. It's always the recovery. Just the recovery is just awful. So now I'm recovering. And at this point, it's like I'm stressed out because I'm supposed to be finishing my last course, because I had finished the first 30 hours somehow in that week. And so the last one was like, I need to finish this. And so I'm working at like studying and recovering, and I'm just in pain, and I just feel awful. I feel sick. I just feel, it's just like this terrible feeling. And so eventually I start feeling better, and I finish the last course, and I take the test, and I pass. And so this is close to maybe almost July. And so then what happens then is that I make an appointment with, I live in Texas, so I had to make an appointment with Texas Real Estate Commission, and I have to submit my proof of education, and then I have to go get it fingerprinted, and I have to pay all these dues and do all the background check. So I have to pay all this stuff. So I'm racing against time here. I need to go with this. So, while recovering, I go and I go get this done. I have to go get there. I have to pay this and I have to pay that. Mind you, I just lost my job, so it's like I'm spending money like there's no tomorrow, and it's money that just won't be coming back for a while. So I get that all done, and then Trek sends me an email, says, hey, we got everything, you're good to go. All you got to do now is take your final test. So I set my appointment for July 1st. So I got terminated on June 14th, jammed out my education. Somewhere between that, I got my heart stents put in. I had this heart procedure put in. And so July 1st, I go in and I take this test. And this test was just absolutely rough on my heart. My heart was pumping full blast the whole time. I was nervous the whole time. It was just I often at times don't even know if I remember the whole procedure. It took about 3 hours. And so I was in there and I took the 2 tests. I took the state test, it's a state test, and then there's the national test. And I had this little trick of how I can determine how well I would do, and maybe I'll make a video on that for anybody who's interested in taking your test. I had a little trick to determine how well I can do, because there's a percentage that you can either, you have to either pass or fail. And so I have a trick. I'll talk about that some other time. So what happened then was I nervously finished the test. My heart was pumping. I mean, this is 3 hours of just straight heart pumping nervousness. I was just nervous the whole 3 hours. And so I go out and I walk out to the lady, and they give you these sheets of paper, and it's like a bunch of stuff, and you don't really know what you're looking at, right? So the first thing when anybody takes the test, that they just want to know if they pass or fail. Right? Like, did I pass or fail? I'm reading all the stuff, and I see, state passed and national passed. And I just, the biggest sigh of relief just came over me, because that was the first win that I had in a couple weeks plus. So if anybody knows that sometimes you just need one win, just one win to just help you keep going forward. That was the win. I was like, okay, all that education and all that stuff paid off. All my studying, all the hours of cramming and jamming, it paid off. I passed on my first try. And I know from what I hear is that it's not that common to pass on the first try. I don't know what the percentage was. Maybe it's like 70% or something, but I hear a lot of cases of people who actually don't pass on the first try, and I can understand why. That test wasn't exactly as easy as I thought it was going to be, and I might even make a video about the education that I received versus the test. I found there's a big difference between the two, and if I had to do it again, I would probably rethink how I would teach myself, along with my education. So then I find this brokerage, and I looked at a couple, but this particular brokerage that I really, really enjoy. And I'll give a little bit more information about this brokerage and myself. All this stuff is going to be down below. But it's the JB Goodwin is the name of the brokerage, and one of their statements, is help people. Going into this real estate world, I understood that realtors have a really negative reputation, and I heard that from colleagues and friends who were also real estate agents. They know, like, some people are in it for greed, and some people, but my brokerage, their main purpose was just to help people. You got to help people, right? Like, that's just focus on that, and that really resonated with me because I generally wanted to get into real estate just to help people. I really enjoyed the idea of just volunteering my time, and stuff like that. So helping people really worked. So I joined that, and that required about a 2-week education, I guess, training. It was a Monday through Friday, 1 week, Monday through Friday. Second week, and it all came about that I just happened to have the 2 weeks that I needed. I mean, I wasn't having to worry about work. I didn't have to worry about anything else. I could just go and learn, and that's what I did. I spent a good portion of my time learning, completely about how the real estate world works. And this is something somebody told me before. They said, the real estate education isn't anything. It's just the basics, but you really don't know and learn much about real estate until you get out in the real world. Then you know, and then you learn how real estate actually works. And I have to agree, my education from just learning to get my license versus the education I have just learning how to be a realtor, completely different. Like, they're just completely different. It's not opposing things. It's not like this and then becomes this. It's more like this and then, but this is the reality. There's more to it. There's so much more to it. And it seems like people who've been in it for years, decades, are still learning. There's so much to learn. Even with this new NAR settlement, there's still new things that are going on and stuff like that. So basically, I finished that training, and I'm still kind of going on. They have continuous education. So if anybody's interested in a brokerage or want to learn more, reach out to me. I'd love to talk about these guys. They're fantastic. The people who are willing to answer all my questions and sit down with me and help me out, like, they're just a wonderful group of people. I love these people. They're fantastic. At least the folks in my office. There's different offices. I don't know everybody, but I could definitely say I would love to vouch for them. But here's the problem: is that real estate, in a good or bad market, it's always difficult for somebody who's just starting out. It's always difficult. Some people do really well. Some people start getting sales. They have friends, they have connections, they jam it out and they get sales, and because we make a compensation, and they can just run with it. And that's what I was hoping to do. But the truth was, is I still have bills to pay, and I have a family to take care of, because I was paid pretty well with my tech job. And so I still needed to find work so that I can balance the two out. And so it just happens to be that I at the same time I was submitting application after application. What I was doing at my previous job as a automation engineer, a QA automation engineer, and that's the same what I'm doing now. And so out of like 50 plus resumes submitted, there were a lot of different programming languages that I just didn't really fit with, or I didn't have what they were looking for, but I still submitted anyway. It's just where, desperate times people do what they need to do to get by. There was one particular job that hired me. Out of respect for this employment, I don't want to mention them, but I will say that I'm just absolutely grateful for them. And I hope that in this whole process that I do an awesome job for them, I hope, in every way. I'm grateful for that. And so I'm starting to onboard with this new job and learn all this new things and provide satisfactory work for them, while at the same time hoping to start this real estate venture. And so that's where we are here. We're here. This is me trying to share my life with the world, hoping that if anyone is curious about real estate, anybody wants to just ask questions, anybody needs any help, as an inexperienced person who just started, I think that most of my experience to help people needs to come from me helping people. And sometimes helping people means I need to look stupid. I need to find somebody who needs help and get together with them and just chat with them, and they're going to ask me a bunch of questions, and I'm going to be like, I have no idea. Let me look into that. There's scenario after scenario, but the idea is that I'm looking forward to just gaining more experience to try to help people as much as possible, so that eventually I could be a reliable realtor, because I know, as I mentioned before, realtors have bad reputations. They have selfish reputations. Thanks to my brokerage and the values that I'm hold to this, I'm hoping to just be sure to help people as best I can. And so if any of you can relate to this story, I have more to share about my life. I have more to share about this adventure of how I'm going to work a full-time tech job and then, on the side, work as a realtor, helping people answer questions, even if they're not buying with me, even if they're not doing anything. Just the interactions with itself would be a great benefit just to them. If I can provide a service to you, I'd love to help. I'd love to just go on this journey and see where it ends up, and hopefully in the end, maybe in a year or two from now, I can be a great asset to anybody. So if this story related with you, like, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions, I'd love to chat with you. I'll list my information down below. Reach out. If you want to look up a little bit more about my history, I'll link all of my information. You can read about my bio, you can find my LinkedIn, and just anything. Even if you don't plan on doing anything anytime soon. If you're just curious, or if you want to do something in about a couple of years, reach out. Like I said, my goal is to try to help people and share a little bit more about my life, and I can get better at helping people by just interacting. And if I fail, I apologize, but this is the journey of growth. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time, and I hope to speak to you soon.